Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Monday night edition of the Bucket and Hoosier Show. You are such a smartass, Mr. Bucket, as we all know him as. Bucket, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm good. It's a holiday weekend. It was a long weekend. Got some golf in this weekend. Got some
Good for you.
pool time in.
What'd you
been a
shoot,
really
like a
good,
30 over?
relaxing. Yeah, pretty much. No, I'm like a 20 handicap, so
Okay.
right around there.
About the same.
Not terrible.
To
I
our
can bomb the ball down the middle.
Oh, can
Sometimes,
you?
sometimes I hit it around, but then the closer I get, the worse I am. So
Oh, see, my
scrambles
driver
are
sucks.
my favorite thing.
Yeah, my driver sucks. Yep, I struggle with that all the time. But my iron game is pretty good. To our audio listeners, right there off the bat, Bucket was mimicking me, and that's why I had the comment that I did. But yeah, no, my weekend was good too. We're here on Memorial Day, not celebrating, but remembering those who did not make it home and fight for our freedom. So I hope you were able to enjoy this day and remember what it is for. So, but moving forward, Bucket, did you watch any EU this weekend?
I did.
You did?
I was able to watch most of Sunday's matchups and some of Saturday's kind of on the move. But yeah, I saw some exciting things from some teams and some teams come through which we didn't think they were going to, and some things happened that we kind of expected. So it was a pretty wild weekend, I think, for EU. But my take is they got some good teams. They got some good things going on there.
They really do have some good things going on there. To the video audience, my apologies. Bucket's camera was not on this screen, so I'm gonna fix that real quick.
Stop the show, folks. There's no reason to go on if I'm not on the camera. This is BS.
I mean, there is always a reason to go on. But I figured we needed to watch this right off the bat, which was
all fronts.
This amazing shot.
Kachi just trying to keep this one in play. Vatira's not there.
No way, he's still up. Zen's still up. Oh, my goodness.
What are we watching?
It was Zen's shot.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
This is like the best part is the reaction from K Corp. Like after they watch it back. Did you see like Vatira's watching this and going, "There's no way," and he immediately puts his face into his hands. It was just, it was ridiculous. How do you have that read?
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable, and they got embarrassed in that upper bracket, and then they had the chance to come back and just couldn't do it. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, so Vitality got embarrassed in the. Wait, no, K Corp. You're saying K Corp got embarrassed in the upper bracket?
Yeah, and then they came back in the lower bracket, was able to flip the bracket, right, and get the bracket reset,
right?
But they couldn't finish it off to make the entire comeback for the tournament, unfortunately.
Yeah, EU, I think going into this major is going to be very, very, very scary. All four of those teams look really good between Vitality, Carmine, BDS, and Moist. They are just they're on. It feels like
What was that last team?
Moist. I hope somebody listening is like cringing from hearing that word 5 times.
Some people do.
I know. I was the girl I was deployed with. We would be flying, and we figured out that she didn't like the word moist, and so we kept figuring out how to sneak it into conversations. So
yikes!
Yeah, we were really nice.
That's super rude, man.
It's definitely rough when you're stuck on an airplane with people for 6 hours. You can't get out of there. So
what do we got going on today? What's the deal? What are we doing here?
Well, we were looking around to see who could we chat to, and we ended up figuring out there's somebody we haven't talked to in a minute.
Listen, here's the thing, right? Like, we have a long list of folks who we've been reaching out to. We have folks who've been reaching out to us. We have folks we want back. We have folks we want for the first time. And we always forget that we built a really good community and network of people before we started doing the show, before we were going live on Twitch, before we started the podcast part, before we started pushing the audio out. And this is one guy I'm super excited about, someone who I have had a relationship with for the past couple years from Rocket League, from groups we're in. And I'm super excited for this conversation. So go ahead now that I've set you up for the homie. Let him know.
And a homie it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Madison College eSport Spring 2023 National Championship winner, Titletown eSports primary Rocket League Shoutcaster Summer 3 later this summer, coaching for Champ 2 and below for $20 an hour. Just DM him and we'll get you the info. Former Cody Davis coach with the Dad Gaming, and currently GC2 in 2s and 3s, and not to mention kind of your original caster buddy before I swooped in there and stole it. Ladies and gentlemen, is none other than DaddyMang. Connor, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on, Bucket and Hoosier? Thanks for having me. It's been a long time. Yeah, we went back to the Dad Gaming, that annual tournament. Bucket was my caster, and we had a great time with that, and just been casting ever since, really. That kind of like got my foot in the door, so to speak, and now I've been doing it with Titletown for 2 seasons, and season 3 is coming up later this summer. It's going to be sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't heard of Titletown. Is that just like Titletown.com, or where are they doing leagues at?
Well, Titletown is the nickname for Green Bay, Wisconsin, of course, because the Packers and Lambeau Field, and Titletown Tech is the building right next to Lambeau Field where the Packers play, and that's where the esports is happening. So they got a league going, and they kicked it off, and I was their guy for season 1, and then we swapped co-casters, and I got a new guy, Tibbles. Shout out to Tibbles. He's gonna watch later probably. And we've been going at it, and it's a good gig. Well, I'll send you guys the links or drop the information somewhere, and then anybody can watch. And it's about 8 weeks of play, and then a championship at Titletown Tech, which is again right next to Lambeau Field. So it's a pretty sweet experience.
So this is like LAN, like everybody's sitting down and playing together.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
It's
awesome.
online at first, and then we do the 7 weeks of what do you call it, regulation play, so to speak, and then the playoffs are live during it's a 1-day final event. Saturday starts at like 1 p.m. and ends around 8, and the grand finals is live, and there's an audience and everything. It's pretty sweet.
That is awesome.
Wow. Yeah, you mentioned back to that must have been 2 years ago, maybe even 3. So it was 2020 when I joined the Dad, then probably summer of 2021 when we did that original cast. So since then, you just started taking off with your casting and going forward with that. Like, I'm excited for that because you were the energy, and all I had to do was explain things. So going and listening to your cast, super excited for that. So explain to me a little bit more about how you transitioned over there. Like, did you hit people up? Did someone see you? What was the look for you?
Sure. So there's a place in Green Bay called Edge VR Arcade and Gamers Lounge, and it's like those places they have in Korea that's just like a PC lab. There's like 20, 30 gaming computers, and anybody can come in, and if you're a high school kid who can't afford a gaming PC, you spend like $10-20. You can hop on for an hour. These are nice rigs. They all have 3080s or whatever in them, so it's like top dollar stuff. And there's like a bar and like pizzas you can get, and so I had been going there, even though it's a little out of my way. My grandparents live in Green Bay, so if I'm in town visiting, whatever, I'd swing by and be like, "This place is sweet. We need more of these in America." So I joined their Discord, and I was getting into their like Rocket League tournaments that they host every couple of months. And they were like, "Hey, we need a league coming up," and just in their Discord general chat, and they were like, "We are looking for casters," and I was like, "Oh, that's me." Like, I just got done doing this with the Dad Gaming. Like, I got a lot of positive feedback from the casting at Dad Gaming that everybody's like, "Wow, you got a talent for this. You should do more of this if you're able." And I was like, "Wow, this seems like a really great opportunity." So I sent him my reel from the Dad Gaming stuff that we did, and they were like, "Okay, you're in. Like, this is great." And then, actually, fun fact: at the end of the first season, Lawler was there at the finals, and I got to meet him before I met him again in Worlds. So
I was
like,
gonna say something. I thought
kind of a big deal.
I thought I saw him go to something like that, and I was wondering if that's what it was.
Oh yeah, he's from Green Bay, so that's
Right.
why, I was just like, "Oh man, like Lawler's gonna be there. That's sweet. This is crazy." And he was like, "Yeah, good job with the casting, man." I was like, "Okay, this is my home. These are my people. Like I'm in it to win it with Rocket League and casting and coaching, and esports is the future. That's all I got to say,
Wow. Yeah, that would be so. Literally, you hit them up. No one came out and reached out to you. You went and did the legwork and got yourself a spot in there. And probably the biggest thing you had over that most people don't is you had a real something to go off of. So that probably helped a ton.
Oh, for sure.
What's next for them? How many seasons have they done now?
So they're confirmed for 2 more, because season 1 I did, and then season 2 just wrapped up a few weeks back, and season 3 will be later this summer. I think season 4 they're looking at like a fall winter type time frame, and then probably going to try to do more packages going into next year because it's pretty popular over there. We were looking at the viewership from this last season; it had surpassed their initial expectations. So it's definitely going to be around for a while, if I had to guess.
Wow. And okay, let me ask you this. Do you have to be in the local area, or can you enter into the tournament from outside the local area and then fly in to play if you make it far enough?
I'm not entirely sure on that because I
Okay.
do know that they're when they talk about it, they say this is like Midwest region type deal. So I don't know, like I guess you can break that down as broad as you want, but like who's willing to drive more than a couple hours for this like an esports event? I mean, they're not saying like no you can't join, but like it's just like if you want to, probably you have to at least originate in the Midwest and not be, maybe they don't open up to Canada or whatever. It's got to be like a national thing. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. That's something I should look into and get some more information on that. But
Yeah,
I do
'cause
know that I drive 2 hours for it because Portage to Green Bay is about a 2-hour hike, and then that my co-caster Tibbles, he also does the Minnesota Collegiate Rocket League. I can't remember the exact acronym, but so he drives 4 hours for that. So like people are willing to make a commute for an esports event if it's popular enough. I mean, if there's money on the line and like your friends are in it or your family wants to watch, it's like it's becoming more of a big deal than it ever was previously in history. Like I'm wearing a jersey right now from playing on a college team, and the first time I went to college, it was just a club. Everybody had to bring their own computers, and it was a unorganized mess. And now, like the esports lab that places have, you've seen like pictures of military posts with their own esports labs now, and the money that people are putting into these rooms with the computer setups. It's just like it's kind of awesome to have been there at the beginning and watch its like progression over time. And now it's like we are at somewhere where this is like going to be around to stay, and it's just keeps getting better. So.
yeah, so you kind of dabbled into that, which I think we're going to go into next. I remember you postings in one of the Discords. It was, hey, my college has a Rocket League team. I wonder if I could get on it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Connor's playing on a college Rocket League team. Oh, he's a champion now. So what happened with that?
Yeah, it really happened that fast. So I emailed the coach for the Madison College, and I said, "Hey, I love Rocket League, and I want to coach or I want to play or whatever you got for me." And he was like, "Well, I don't know. It's kind of like an exclusive club or whatever." He was like, "We don't just take anyone from ground level and teach them Rocket League from scratch. So you kind of have to know what's going on." And I was like, "I might be your guy. I might have something that you could use." So there were about 4 of us on the team, but only 3 people on a Rocket League team, right? So it was between me and another guy, and we weren't sure like who's the sub and who's like the starter, so to speak. And
What
when
was
the
the
grand
age
finals
difference?
came, oh man, I'm the oldest guy in the league by a mile, by a landslide. All my teammates were 18 or 19, and I'm just over here like I'm 33 and I've got a kid. Like, yeah, I don't have a ton of time for Rocket League, but I've been playing a while, so hopefully that helps me out. But yeah, my teammates are great. Shout out to them, Remix, Rob, and Cookie, if you guys are watching. And you probably heard of Remix. He's top 200 on the threes leaderboards.
Mm-hmm.
The guy is just insane. Like he could go places with this. Just graduated, so he won't be on the team next year, unfortunately. But yeah, so the first 2 games of the grand finals, which was the best of 7, they had Cookie playing in the third slot, and then they lost. They went down 2-0 in the series, and they were like, "We got to make something happen, right?" So they ended up benching Cookie, and they pulled me in cold, and then we won 4 straight and took home. And
They
now we're
pulled
getting
in the
rings made,
goon.
and yeah, and I just showed up and started going for demos. Goon, like you've seen the movie Goon, probably, right? That's exactly what I do. I'm the brutality, man. But we took it home, and it was a crazy feeling. Everybody was super hyped in the lab, jumping up and down, screaming. Like it's kind of a once in a lifetime experience. So it's kind of neat for at my age to still be able to do something like that, and I was
So
happy to be a part of it.
what was it like when you first like came in there and like you said they're all 18 and here you are 33 with a kid and you're like, yeah guys, I'm here to play Rocket League. They had to look at you and go, this guy can't be any good. Like this is a joke,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, so I had RLCS pants on because I bought the sweatpants at Worlds, right? We were at Worlds together, and
Yep.
I couldn't pass it up because it's the black with the gold RLCS down the side, and I was wearing them. They were like, "Oh, you went to Worlds?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I showed them my pictures from Worlds, like we were at the same bar that all the casters were at afterwards, and I had the pics. So I was just like, and they were like, "That's so sweet, man. It's cool you're a fan of Rocket League, but like, can you play?" And I was like, "No." I'm terrible. And they were like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. We'll just have you on whenever. And then, so like, there were some days where I was actually busy with my kid or work and I couldn't play. And so I only, like, during the regulation, the first, whatever, 7 to 8 weeks it was, I'd show up maybe once every other week and just play a game or two. And the competition was okay. It's a younger league, so it wasn't like I didn't have any problems or anything. So it's not like they thought I was bad, but they didn't think I was like, going to be a starter or whatever, anything
Right.
like that. And then the grand finals flipped everything around. They were like, "Oh man, this guy knows what he's doing." It's pretty sweet.
Bucket.
Dude, that's wild. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. And you touched on this a little bit, like how esports clubs or teams or orgs or whatever have started building like in-person facilities, going from essentially way back when we first started playing video games, the couch, and then everyone kind of got to their desk and they were online. And now it sounds like back in person is the way for a lot of these colleges or even the shoutcasting that you're doing. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, what's the difference playing an esport in person in like a LAN type of environment or casting it compared to just playing online?
Absolutely. The events make it special because online you're missing the human element of it all. Like there's some anonymity there, so the crap talking is a little more rampant. But in real life, when your opponents are sitting across from you, you have to be a little more restrained in your approach, so to speak, is like talking smack and
Unless you're calm.
such. But unless you're calm, right? Which I love him for that. That
Yes.
documentary the Sunless did, I was like, it's brilliant stuff. But I went to an esports summit in Milwaukee, and there was a LAN there, and I wasn't on that team, but Madison College was there, and they ended up winning. And I mean, it was electric. Like there's a crowd of like 300, 400 people, right? And they're all talking about like getting local businesses involved in supporting and donating towards esports. And now there's like positions at high schools. You can be a high school esports coach or like director of esports at your local, district, and then build one of these labs, get the kids involved, and it can be accessible for people who can't have access to normal sports, right? Well, not I don't want to say normal sports. That's probably the wrong terminology there, but
Traditional.
Traditional.
yeah,
We,
yeah, yeah. So
we
it's
have this
just
conversation a lot.
sure,
Traditional.
yeah. I just think it's really neat, and I think that LANs are special. I think Worlds was an amazing experience in Texas. People were a little salty with G2 fans for leaving early or whatever. It's a whole thing, but like just to be there and to have the commute and to connect with the people I've met online, right? Like we all started around in the dad gaming around COVID, so we're all indoors, depressed because we can't be social because there's some pandemic happening and nobody can connect on a human level. And then the dad gaming brought everyone together. For me, at least, I had a really good time with them, and going to Worlds was a completely amazing experience. Esports with your college is great. I think if you can get on a team, and again, it even goes down to the high school level. So now, as our kids are growing up, I talk about the dad gaming. Obviously, we're all fathers. It's like we can get our kids involved in this stuff, and they can join a high school team, maybe a college team, eventually go pro. Like the opportunities are out there, and I think in person definitely makes it special.
If I could just get my kid off of Fortnite. That's
Oh
my only
yeah,
problem right now.
and in my house.
I know. I
I'm-
keep thinking the game's time has passed, and then I come to find out all the kids are playing it again.
It's
Yeah.
like
All the
Call of
younger kids.
Duty.
It's weird.
Like
Yeah.
I would think at this point Call of Duty would be dead, but then it just rears its ugly head and people are still playing it. It's like, all right, come on, it's the same game, but yeah. Anyways, but
Do you find that a lot though out there when you're looking at esports? Do you see Rocket League becoming like prevalent? Is it popping up everywhere? Is it kind of dying? Like what's the consensus out there, at least in your regional area, about Rocket League?
I think Rocket League keeps getting bigger. I've seen some people say that it's like, it's suffering or whatever, but I think it's the best esports to watch by a landslide. I can have a little fun watching things like Overwatch and Valorant with all the chaos of the 5v5 or whatever, but it's like watching Warzone professionally, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm just a high level strategy is what appeals to me. Like back in the day, I grew up with Gears of War. Maybe you guys have heard of that one. It's like
mhm.
4v4, super tactical, locked in spawn points, no randomness. Like skill is what takes the day. And Rocket League is the same way. Like there's very little randomness to it. It is 100% skill based. That's why people always talk about the skill ceiling being like, it's never going to get reached or whatever. It's just going to keep going infinitely because people can get better and better and better. And just watching the gameplay professionally now from back in the day when I was, had the time to be like, I'm super fan, like season 1, season 2, right? And everybody's like, oh, look, you could be plat and have played in the finals in year 1. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Like maybe like some things, but it's just like, I don't. It's been cool to watch the progression over time of Rocket League's professional scene, and I don't think it's dying at all. I think there's a lot of opportunities like for coaching and then just for players as well. I think it's going to keep growing, especially if they rebuild it on Unreal, which is the rumor, right? They're going to make it in Unreal 5 and then have a new. I don't think they'll call it Rocket League 2. I think that would be an unwise decision, but you never know.
It'll probably just still be called Rocket League. But that
Right.
you talked about that. I mean, that goes back to the guy that Bucket and I ran into at that bar at Worlds. We didn't even tell most of you about that. One of the first nights that we were in there, and we were just sitting there hanging out, and we started chatting with this guy next to us, and he's a developer programmer, and he was just kind of hinting at. He's like, I can't tell you, and we're like, I mean, we're not gonna say anything, but we're working on something. And it's like, all right, so you guys are working on Unreal Engine 5.
We
which I
didn't say
know-
anything until now. You just broke that promise.
You
I didn't
sign
know
it.
his name. I didn't describe what he looked like.
We gave them
6'5",
enough
white
time.
guy, blonde hair. I mean,
I think we gave him enough time to do something and announce it. And now, because he was really excited, he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get it going. There's gonna be an announcement here at Worlds." Blah blah blah. We kept waiting and waiting. And
Well,
waiting
even that
and
guy
waiting.
said like he was a non-Rocket League player or interest person, and that was the first event that he had been to for Rocket League, and he was even saying, he goes, this is different. He's like, everybody's so invested in it that's here. Everybody's just electric. It's awesome. He's like, the atmosphere is just incredible. And it was like, yeah, dude, like it's really good. You guys should do more. And it's been almost a full year now, and we're all still playing the same game on the same engine that we've been playing since 2015. So here we are. But like you said, it's still growing. Like, do you think it's just that it is almost like a traditional sport in a sense, and it's so easy for people to pick up, or just for kids to pick up?
Yeah, I think just the inherent like fun that it brings, even if you don't watch pro play and you're not discouraged by the things that people are capable of doing, because I do think it's like harder to get into in the sense that if you pick it up, I mean, okay, let me break it down this way. For people who play shooters, all shooters are sort of similar, enough for you to be able to switch from something like Warzone to Apex Legends and be like, I still know what I'm doing. I can still compete, because shooting games have been around for 2-3 decades, and the skills, are transferable is what I'm looking for here. But with Rocket League, you're starting from scratch. You have to learn something new. You have to be comfortable being completely trash at it at first, because it is not easy, right? But even when you're bad, I think it can be fun. I think the trick is, when you're doing it with your kids and such, is to not jump straight into ranked and play online. I think you should start with exhibition matches and do the training and play against bots and do free play, practice like freestyling. People get into that. I mean, it does eventually get competitive, but it starts as just like, what cool things can I do? And there's a lot of that available in Rocket League. So it doesn't have to be this like uber competitive top level stuff. You can get into it at a casual level, maybe not as casually as shooter games again, because the skills are transferable and you don't have to feel like you're completely bottom of the barrel. Like when you start out in Rocket League, after watching the pros, you're like, how do they do that? Because I mean, this is like, I can barely drive a straight line, and these guys are flip resetting, so it's like, I think that there are some barriers to entry as far as like kids who just want to be the best right away. But I think if you're willing to go through the early stages of not being an absolute professional, then it is some of the most long-term progression rewarding gameplay that exists, because of just how difficult it is and how satisfying it is when you finally reach your goals of like being able to execute things that you've seen,
Oh yeah, that first time, the one time that I finally hit Grand Champ, it was like 3 seasons ago. I was like, yes, I finally did it after all these
Right.
years. Thank God. And then now it's like, I got to start over again, because I am not to where I was when I was grinding for Grand Champ. I'm not putting in the hours. So, but yeah, you got to put in the time. It's not, I think Buck and I, we've talked about this of shooters, kind of like how you described. We all grew up playing shooters. So from 2015 to
Pew, pew,
like
pew, pew.
now, like for us shooters, it's muscle memory, right? Like we hop in a shooter, it's like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing real quick.
Absolutely.
But Rocket League for us was, Oh wow. Yeah, I have to learn. I have to put in the time that I didn't realize I was putting in when I was, 10 years old playing a shooter. And put that time into Rocket League. And now we're seeing all the younger players that are coming up now. They're the kids that they've had it. Like that's the game they've known. So for them, it's like, oh yeah, you just do this. Like, oh, you can't do that? No, I can't do that. My brain doesn't function like that. Yours
Right.
works so much better. Did you find when you were playing with like the 18-year-olds that they just read things just so much better?
Oh yeah, one of my teammates, BLT, he's grand champ at 1800 hours, and it took me
Wait, BLT
4 or
no bacon?
5,000. BLT enthusiast is his main, I think. I
Okay,
don't
never mind.
know. But yeah, I mean, hitting grand champ in less than 2,000 hours blew my mind because
Yeah.
not only was I one incredibly jealous, but two, just like how? Like it actually took me 4,000+ hours to hit grand champ, but he just started on the free play a lot and got really addicted to mechanics, and now I mean. You can do a lot of things when you're younger and your brain is more malleable and you have more free time to kind of grind it out, and it's impressive how good people get and how fast. But also, now is the time to start playing Rocket League because your feet to the fire. Like you'll see some things. You'll get hit by some pressure. Like back when I started, everybody sucked equally, so it took us longer to grow because nobody was pushing the envelope. When we saw that over zero goal in season 1, we were like, wow, this is peak Rocket League. And nowadays, everybody's like, all he did was invert his car and make a dunk. It's like this is easy stuff.
Yeah, I
But
do that at Plat.
right, this is just like. I mean, I definitely think now is the time to get into it, even though, again, it might be slightly harder than ever before. It's going to be more rewarding, too, because, I mean, you're going up against it right away.
Do you guys have any old clips of yourself scoring goals, like when you were first starting to play Rocket League? I know,
Yeah,
I
I have
fa-
YouTube montages.
Yeah, I have. I know I have one of like it was like one of my first goals. I think I scored in Rocket League, and I swear to God, I think I drive around the ball 3 times before I finally square up the car to hit it.
Yeah, it's
You're
good
like,
stuff. I have
yeah, let me
camera
save
shake on.
this and put it online.
Yeah, I saved it. I think it's in my Xbox clips. I have to go
Yeah.
look those up. Yeah, they're hilarious.
That's
get
the way to
flamed
track
now
your
for that.
growth in Rocket League, though, is to look at
Right.
old clips, because there's no, like, I mean, I don't know, story mode or whatever to, like, continually, beat. You have to, like, track your progress by looking at your former self to see how far you've come.
I think that's kind of the draw of Rocket League. Like compare it to things like Fortnite, where the hype early on was that players could do these like mechanical kind of things on Twitch and people could go mimic them in their games, right? They did these things that other people didn't think of, then they got popular, and then people would go do it, and then they would do something else and it would get popular. And then eventually there was like a ceiling that was hit with this crazy building and stuff, and people got tired of it. But Rocket League, like you alluded to, the ceiling just keeps getting pushed higher and higher every time new things come about. So is that kind of something you've dealt with in your coaching? There's new metas, there's new skills. Let me teach you more philosophy things because mechanical is already here, where at the early days it was trying to teach mechanical. Like what's the way that you start off someone who wants to be into Rocket
Yeah,
League?
because you mentioned only Champ 2 and below. Like, come on, there's got to be something you can teach a newer Grand Champ out there that's under 2,000 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had the only professional coaching I ever received was from Kev Pert, and shout out to Kev Pert. He was our Madison people got him on board to talk to us before our grand finals match, and he had a lot of great stuff, a lot of diagrams and stuff to work with, and I recommend him to anyone who's looking for top level coaching. And he kind of broke it down in a way that there's things you can do without the ball, which is something that I had to add to my coaching, regimen, because not to like spill trade secrets or whatever, but like a lot of people when they're young and starting out, they like solo plays, the glory, like this is still it, right? In professional sports, you see it too, that like a ball hog, so to speak, somebody who just wants to get 50 points a game and never pass or whatever. And I think Rocket League there's a lot of solo plays to be sure, but also I think there's a lot that can be done when you don't have the ball, right? Demo rotations, and there's some controversy about that. Like people don't like getting demoed, but I think it's an important part of the meta because it is in the game. That I've heard. I really like the comparison somebody said once. They were like, it'd be like if you took the checking out of hockey, right? Like it wouldn't be the same game, and
Right.
which is it's kind of an interesting note. Regardless of how you feel about demos, it's just like fun to think about. And then there was that Sunless video he did where he added the refs and the ref blew a whistle and they had to pause the game and make it. It's just like this whole. That's like one of the great things about Rocket League is it doesn't stop, just keeps going and going and going. So there's sure I could tell a newer player that there's more things to be thinking about than just trying to go for the triple flip, reset, musty, double tap goal and like be a good teammate, right? That comes with some maturity and age, and you can be more like, hey, you got to get other people involved and like work together and just mindset stuff, more than just mechanics, because I cannot teach anyone any more mechanics than I know, which is like I can barely half flip. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
well, I mean, you made a good statement there. You can't teach any more. You can't teach more than you know, right?
Yeah.
So mechanics, yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I can half flip, and that's about it. But yeah, like when it comes to like the dad.
But you can teach discipline though, right? Like, hey, go do this 100 times before you do this. Do this, do this, do this. Like you can teach those things to kids that don't have that discipline or understanding or experience in life or haven't played a traditional sport and don't know that that's what you have to do.
Well,
Right.
and I found like even when we were all big in playing in the dad gaming and the mixed rank tournaments, like you kind of you can kind of find out, are you a decent coach when you're doing that? And obviously it's different because you're a player coach at that point. So you got to focus on what you're doing and coaching. But I remember telling some people, like, oh, how'd you get good at that? I'm like, oh, well, I wouldn't, if I hit it in practice, I would hit it 3 times in a row before I move on to the next shot. And to some people are like, oh, you would do the same thing over and over. I'm like, yeah, you kind of have to. But then also talking about where if people haven't looked at Rocket League from like a strategic level of, yeah, you're not on the ball, but if you can be over here controlling, then you just put yourself in this third of the field. Well, that person's going to see you over there. So now it makes them think twice on if they want to put the ball over there because, as everybody knows, if you played with Bucket, his big saying is put the ball where they ain't.
Hit it where they ain't. Absolutely.
and get them moving. But yeah, it's like those things like that. And that's what makes, I think, that next level of coaching Rocket League interesting because you can bring that basketball, hockey, soccer mentality to it, especially if you have a background in it. So yeah, that's always fun. But oh man, Bucket, what do you got?
Well, talk a little bit about the coaching that you're doing then, because it sounds like in between these shoutcasting, which it sounds like there's a new season coming up. Like you guys are in the intermission of the seasons right now. The championship too that you guys went through, all of that was pretty recent. But now in this downtime, you have people reaching out on different communities. I saw someone in one of the networks that we're in, I'm not sure which one it was, say, I need a coach for my kid for a birthday or something like that. And people recommended you, or you recommended, you said, hey, let me get it checked out. Like, what's it like for you out there? And what are you teaching kids?
Yeah, actually, that was the Dad Gaming, and Mick Italy
okay.
tagged me. He said, hey, this guy is looking for a coach for his son. And I did it. It was a great opportunity. Set an alarm to wake up early because the guy is actually from the UK, so they're 6 hours ahead of us.
Oh, damn.
But it was an awesome experience. They were happy with it, and I just, again, taught what I know. Younger than me, more mechanical, all ready for however many hours. He's like, I think I have 3 days on the game, and I'm just like, you should have seen me at 3 days on Rocket League. I mean, the stuff kids can do these days. And I'm just going to keep a lookout. You were mentioning that one website where you can go for coaching. I think I'm going to try that. Yeah, Medify. I'm going to look into that for sure because I do love coaching, and I think definitely I want to be like at Madison College. I think I can take more of like a Rocket League coaching role on too as I start to not be as good as the younger players. Like they've already been talking about recruiting from high schoolers for next season, and I'm not going to be any better than these 17-year-olds have been grinding,
Oh my god.
Well, that's a good time to get into it though, right? Like kind of slip in there and say, let me mentor and coach you guys up a little bit and then create your own path into a job. That's kind of what Medify allows you to do too. I think it's one of the ones I know. It's purely esports coaching website. You P2P, like two people. There's someone that needs something, someone that wants something, and they bring you together. So it's one of those good opportunities for that. But yeah, you can definitely make it into something exciting if you can get people to find you. So everyone go check out DaddyMang. We'll put all his socials in the podcast and the YouTube and all the things so you guys can go hit him up. I remember going all the way back to, again, we've known each other for a couple years now, to the Dad Gaming where we would play these mixed rig tournaments that Hoosier was talking about, and we would be in those top level. We would be kind of at the highest, me, him, a few other dads that were Grand Champ level back then. And anybody I would get had already been on a team that was on my team, had been on a team with you or other guys. And they would always say how exciting it was to be with you, how much you hyped them up, all kinds of things like that. So for years now, without even knowing, you were coaching. And this is kind of like brought you to this point in your career. So what's next for you? What do you plan on doing in the coaching sphere besides getting on Medify?
I think the next steps is with Madison College. I think the fall season's coming up, and I'm going to attempt to play. And if they don't want me as a player, then I'm absolutely going to coach because they still want me around, because my expertise in the game and the time I put in, I think I have something to offer there as far as coaching goes, because we have like a head coach, but he's like also doing like manager stuff, and like he runs the lab. So in a full-time job, he's got a family too. So he's a busy guy, and he doesn't have the time for, he got Kevpert involved for us, and that was a big deal. But for someone to have like a designated Rocket League role and just cover that team, because again, this lab does Valorant. They do Overwatch 2. They do Warzone. So I think that if I could just be like the Rocket League guy, that would really be a nice role suited for me. And also one of the players was on our B team, actually coaches a local high school team. And there are a lot of small cities around here, like, like 12,000, 15,000 population. They've got a couple of high schools. And I think that these positions aren't going anywhere. Like, right, they're just going to keep popping up, and there's more opportunity now than ever to be a high school coach. I would love to do that. You could do like, coach your kid soccer on the weekends and then do like high school esports during the week, right? Like that, how sweet is that? Soccer and Rocket League go like, bread and butter, you know what I'm saying? So it'd be kind of a neat gig to get that going. And I think I'm just going to keep networking, and I'll be in Madison College till end of next year is my expected graduation date. And I don't think that's going anywhere. So I'm just going to keep looking for opportunities and put myself out there.
Nice, man.
That's good. I like you have me now looking in my state of what's going on around here, and is there something to get involved with and help grow it? But yes,
It starts at that local level, right? Like that's where it's all started. You see these big, huge esports and the RLCS and those things, but it starts at these local levels in the high schools and the colleges, and they're building these things as we speak. So get in on it if you can.
100%.
Oh man. Well, what else has been going on? What else has been going on with you? Because I know there for the longest time, holy crap, to get you to be able to cast, like it was you were falling asleep. So are we past that point now, or are we still got the late nights are not good?
No, yeah, I was working 12-hour shifts at a factory. It starts at 5 a.m. and with an hour and a half commute. So I was pretty burnt out. I loved casting. I loved doing that, but I would actually fall asleep at the desk. This is true. This has actually happened. I've seen the memes. You guys put Dad Gaming logos over my eyes. I
was with you on one of those. I was like, you know what? Well, I'm just going to take this, not even say anything. He's fine.
He's fine.
Brutal, man. I would just do anything. I've heard all the tricks for keeping yourself awake. You put like hand sanitizer under your eyes and stuff. Nothing works. I was just so exhausted from working. Had a little bit of burnout going, but had a career change, so don't have those 12-hour factory shifts anymore. That should help with me staying awake. And what's the Dad Gaming have coming up? It's like 200 tournament maybe, I think. Or 300th, I don't know the exact number, but it's something in August, and I was hoping to either play during that or cast. So I'll be reaching out to them, and we'll go from there. And I know Channel 3 does Rocket League stuff.
We need to get an invite back, the legacy invite from.
Yes, we should have a guaranteed spot. We're the OGs.
I was still in some of those caster chats, but I don't have time. Same thing, like life catches up to you, and ebbs and flows. And we do this now and try to dedicate any hours I was giving to all that to something else, and you just got to keep moving forward with your life. But also it's nice to go back and give back a little bit, or get something in return and get excited about. And those roots, that would be really cool to cast with you again, or even just hang out with you, play against you, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Totally, man. Let's do it.
No, I'm not playing against either of you assholes again. Not doing that. You talk about, like, you kind of touched on a bucket of, like, the days of us playing that, and, all of us were a captain on a team. Yeah, me, that was a struggle bus. Like, they'd be like, "Oh, who are we playing against?" I'm like, "Oh, we're playing against Team 2, Bucket." They're like, "Oh, who? Oh, Bucket. Is he good?" And I would like try and downplay, like, "Nah, he's all right. He's not. He's okay." And then, oh, DaddyMang is like, "Shit, what do we have to watch out for? Demos. He's gonna demo the shit out of you."
Oh no, that's crazy. That's what I'm known for. I can double tap like a fiend too, and everybody's like, "No, it's a demo game. You gotta watch
No,
out for."
that was McItaly. It was
Yeah.
It was, oh, we're playing against McItaly. What is he gonna do? Go up early. Watch the double taps. He's gonna always go for it. That's all he's gonna do. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's wild, dude.
Yeah.
What I know you mentioned a little bit before this started, and we'll try to wind down here a little bit. We try to keep these things about an hour or so. We're coming up on that, but you mentioned a little bit of criticism you've had based off of your rank and stuff, but like you just said, you've gone through all of these life experiences that some of these other kids had. How have you broken through some of those to kids? Like maybe you've had people say you can't do this or you can't teach me that or whatever. Like how have you kind of like gotten past that with people?
Okay, so I had a Fiverr account and I changed my Epic name to Coach DaddyMang, and I was playing in a solo queue C3 lobby, and we lost by like 4 or 5 or whatever, and the other team is just being total pricks about it. And one of the guys was like, "Imagine being a 1400 and thinking you could be good enough to coach or whatever," and it hurts. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't need a Fiverr because, I mean, this kid's an a-hole, but he's right. Like, should I really be a coach when I'm not at like the top level? But when I started, Grand Champ was the highest rank. It's not my fault the jerks made 3 versions of Grand Champ plus SSL. Like I know I'll never hit SSL. That's fine. I don't have the time, but like I still think that I do have something to offer. That's why I say I could coach, Champ 2s and below, because I don't want to kid myself into thinking that I have too much to offer somebody who's higher than my own rank. But as you were saying, the discipline is a thing. Kids struggle with discipline because we all are born to just want all the best things and never do anything that sucks. But to get greatness, you have to go through the suck, right? So that's something that you could offer no matter what your rank is, right? Like the guy who I said is a local high school coach, he's only champ like 1 or 2. So it's like I say only. It's like, again, like a top tier rank. So it's not a diss by any means.
It's just funny we've gotten to that point where it's everyone's like, "Oh,
Right.
you're only champ 2." Only champ 2. Listen
Right.
here, you little shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I mean,
it's it's an interesting long-term grind because it does take so many years to get good at Rocket League, like years. And people are like, "Well, that's scary. I want to, when you pick up a video game, you want to be good at it right away." Kind of like, I mean, besides the people who like Dark Souls, that's just like you like pain, I guess. But Rocket League is a grind, and some of the best things in life are worth waiting for and working hard towards, and you just got to keep pushing. And so I think that I am going to keep going with coaching, and then just I'm not going to coach an SSL to any professional. Yeah, I'm not Fireburner, but he's a pretty big inspiration.
See,
Hey,
it's hard
you never
to
know.
compare
we
yourself
had
to people.
Professor Psych on, and he even talked about he took up a coaching gig where he randomly all of a sudden found himself live on a Rocket League stage for a game, and
That's nuts.
he would be around about the same level that all of us are, and now he's coaching at Moist. He's up there signed with Moist, so I mean, never say never. There's always a possibility.
Sure.
Have you
Sure.
found though that you have more good experiences with coaching people than bad experiences?
Yeah, I've never. The only thing was that guy in rank saying, because my name said Coach DaddyMang, and he was trouncing me. He was like, "You don't deserve the title." But everybody I have coached is like, "You were absolutely a good coach," So I've never had like bad feedback through my coaching. And that's like we were talking about the dad gaming tournaments and how we were the higher level and we'd be mixed rank tournaments, so we end up with lower level teammates. That's what got me into coaching, because I was like, I want to win, but you're giving me teammates that aren't on my skill level. So I just, instead of being this guy who's like heated and just like powers off after every loss and like throws the headset, I started to realize like, hey, I'm a dad now. Like I should probably take a more positive aspect at like, you're only as strong as your weakest link, or however the thing goes, So it's like you start to pick up these lower guys and show them what they can work on and improve. And I did the Hat League for the Dad Vibes Discord community and such. They probably have a Facebook group too. I'm not on Facebook as much as I used to be, but that I had good feedback in those seasons because every week after our matches, I would do replay analysis for the team. I would sit down and record a half hour, like going through our matches and like just talk about, John Madden style with the yellow highlighter. And I would email it out to my people and they were like, I was like, okay, watch this before next week. And by the end of that thing, they were like, we have all ranked up significantly. Like, you made this game fun for us again. Like, it turns out just a little bit of replay review, which most people don't spend the time to do. Most people hop on Rocket League, just play and then hop off. But absolutely one of the best parts towards Rocket League growth is replay analysis. So I kind of grew addicted to it because it's so satisfying to be like, you can see your own mistakes too. When I play, I'm doing things that are habitually bad, and you won't notice unless you pull back, take a look at the replay, get that bird's eye view going. And you're like, oh man, like I'm telling people not to do this, but I'm doing it myself. So you can kind of like get that perspective and just share your knowledge that way in like a slower format. Rocket League, a lot of the times, is so blazing fast. You're not like truly 100% thinking strategy. A lot of the times, especially as you get older, you have to spend more of that brain power on just like mechanical execution. There's less time for game sense. But replay review gives you a little bit more time to kind of slow it down, break down what's going right, what's going wrong, and that's probably my favorite part of coaching is replay analysis.
Bucket, how often do you watch your own replays?
I watch my bad ones more than I watch my good ones, to be honest with you, because
Dang it,
I
I was
want to
hoping
learn
to
from
go a
my
different way with
mistakes.
that.
Dude, have you not looked at our YouTube channel? I have replays on there for other people that I've done so that they can go watch it. And they probably are some of our most watched videos, to be honest with you.
I've
Because they
done
get
one
shared
or
across the
two.
communities. But I did the same thing that DaddyMang's talking about for my teams in the Hat League. And I would make a YouTube video and I would send it to them and they would all say the same thing. And I've always had that approach too. Like, I'm not just going to take this ball and take it the whole way. I'm not that good. I'm good enough that my teammates and me have to play together. So I have to coach them up and I have to like kind of bounce off of each other. And it sounds like you've learned from the elasticity of the game that same thing. You have to get people up to standards in order to win these things, and that got you over the hump in coaching. It's all mental, it's all mindset, mental fortitude, things like that. And it sounds like now, after the one bad experience you had with the guy in rank, like you walk into the room and I deserve to be here, I'm going to be here. And if you don't know that, you should, dude. Enough people have told you, enough people have told me that you are a good coach. So
Thank you.
go do these things. Go to Medify, go on Upwork or Fiverr or whatever else other people are on at this time. And we highly recommend you. So keep doing it, dude. I know you got what it takes.
Appreciate it, man.
Side note, Bucket, you just hit the under.
Yeah, good. This is a game over.
Yeah, it
Game
just
over.
ended.
Boom.
Heat win.
I told you. Yeah, I almost took. I did. Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. I don't want to talk about my bets, bro. I mean,
It's a good thing to talk about.
go hit my account. I'm gonna go cash out and buy me a Sony pop.
Connor, before we go, do you have anything else? Where can people find you at?
DaddyMang 3638 on Discord. Also the Dad Gaming on Facebook. I'm a moderator on there. You can just tag me and I'll pop up. And then once I get a Medify going, I'll drop that link in Discord as well. So yeah, my Epic ID is just DaddyMang with 3 Ds in the middle because I forgot my password to the first version of DaddyMang. It's still me. It's just out there somewhere locked away forever. I didn't have a very good password management system when I first got my computer. It's much better now.
I love that. It's just out there. It's just hanging out. It's just out there in space. It's in good hands. It's just locked.
Still me. I
learning
just
lessons.
can't access it. Twitch is the same way. It's DaddyMang with 3 Ds on Twitch because the first one I got locked out of. And I don't know. It's like I had 2-factor authentication, got a new phone. Well, I forgot to switch it over. Like that's one thing I recommend before you switch phones. Everybody take a screenshot of your backup codes.
Yeah, it's
Lessons
easy to
learned
lose.
the hard way.
Oh, that's hilarious. Bucket, do you have anything before we get out of here?
No, man, it was so good catching up with you. I hope we get to do something again here in the near future. And good luck to you in your next season coming up. Anything you have going on, feel free to come by. Let us know. We'll shout you out anytime. And dude, we love you. And I hope we wish you the best, man. Absolutely.
Right.